Hi, I'm Christian.
And I'm Angela, and we are married
And bored.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Married and Bored.
We are back live tonight with another episode.
Well, I don't think they're hearing it live because this is a recording.
That's true. Well, we just want to say welcome. We appreciate that you spending time listening to our show, hanging out with us tonight or today, wherever you are, talking about board games.
Yes, we hope to bring some fun discussion of an awesome game into your ears and also maybe some joy into your life.
Joy and fun. It's needed. Well, let's just jump right into the show, Angela. We always start the show talking about what we have been learning, doing, seeing, watching, reading.
With games.
Yeah, whatever other word I cannot think of. Yeah, so Angela, why don't you just kick us off? What is up with you, and how's your board game life?
My board game life is strong. Thanks, Christian, for asking. Okay. Well, the first thing that popped into my head for board game news for this episode was the game that you showed me that we pledged.
Well, it's just a pre-order right now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We pre-ordered is the P word I was looking for. Pledge, pre-order.
Yeah, you had a lot to choose from.
Okay. Earlier this week, we ordered it, and it is called The Initiative. And from what I understand, it kind of reminds me of Jumanji in a sense, not the jungle part, but the fact that it's like a game within a game. So you're going to be playing the role of 4 teenagers who discover a game at a yard sale, and then they play it. So it's like you're playing the people who are playing the game.
Yeah, it sounds...
It's like Inception. It's board game Inception.
It's very much like Jumanji in a way.
Yes.
But this is something that has been in the works for a long time. It's from a brand new company called Unexpected Games, and it is actually run by someone who's very popular in the industry named Corey. Now, I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to say his name terribly wrong. Corey Konetska. Corey, sorry for butchering your name. He is a famous designer, most notably with Fantasy Flight Games. And he has actually designed a few of my favorite games. Star Wars Outer Rim and Star Wars Destiny he worked on. He worked on Twilight Imperium, Star Wars Rebellion. A few years ago, it was announced that he would be leaving FFG and starting his own studio. So this is actually the first product from that studio.
I did not know that.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Okay, well, so it's really intriguing. It's got a book component, not like not a storybook like Forgotten Waters or Stuffed Fables, but more of... It's
a comic book, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you learn stuff about the game, about what's coming next. But you have to read the comic book to get your next, quote, missions, maybe. There's not a lot of information out right now, but it was unique enough and different enough that we had to...
We had to pledge it? Is that
pledge, yeah. I always pledge stuff.
We had to pre-order it. It just spoke to me. I love things that are, involve riddles or codes, some sort of strategy along those lines, detective work. Speaking of which, actually, we got the Sherlock Holmes game.
We did. We got a Sherlock Consulting Detective Agency. You know what they are if you're in board games. I can never say it's one of those board games. Excuse me, I can never get the correct name right.
And if you're wondering, just check out our Instagram post from a couple days ago.
This was an impulse buy by me, of course. Since I don't think you've ever impulse bought a board game without me knowing.
Or anything. That's not just board games, it's anything.
You don't buy anything?
I don't impulse buy anything.
No, well, maybe like...
Which really surprises the people out
maybe
there
coffee.
That know I'm a planner.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm the least fun buyer in this household. So the Sherlock game, it's funny. I wish we had quotes of what Christian says when he's not trying to be funny. Or maybe you are, but...
It's not hard for me to try to be funny.
Okay, wow.
Right?
Humble.
Yeah.
So that's one of his virtues. Anyway, we opened the Sherlock Holmes game. Actually, he was looking at it because I think you were still working in your office. And I came in to ask you something. And you were like, hey, I'm looking at this game. It looks like homework, but you'll probably love it.
It was so many books and so many pieces of paper. And I knew, I know what that games are. I knew that it was going to be there's not going to be people on a board. There's not going to be tons of miniatures. There's not going to be visually cool things. And that's fine. But it was just funny. I was like, oh man, this is like an essay. Like it reminded me of those black essay books. Or the
the blue book?
Yeah. Or
blue
not
test book?
Yeah. And then there's like the notebooks that are like black bound and they kind of like black and white.
Yes.
That it reminded me of those with a ton of information in it.
I can't wait.
I am still looking forward to playing this game. I saw it on a video of somebody's favorite game from 2020. So we got the newer one. It's not the first one, so we're just jumping in at this one. And, we like the initiative game. We always like a good story being told when we play games. Mm-hmm. And this video said it was one of their favorite stories in a game that they played all year. And they kept on thinking about the characters in this story from between plays.
Much after the story.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm excited. Christian... Thanks for hijacking my what's up.
I know, I did talk a lot.
I think I want to ask you, what's up with you?
Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do is hijack it a little more and just ask our listeners for some help.
Help?
Yes, because right now, for whatever reason, maybe it's just life in general, I'm having a really hard time having fun playing games. So I don't know. I guess what I'm asking for is I need a game, and I'm willing to go get it, Angela Earmuffs. I'm willing to go buy it. One that we haven't thought of that could kind of relight the fire for board games. Mm-hmm. I'm not done with board games. I don't want that to come across. But, like, it's just not where it was, say, a year ago.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does to me. It makes me sad, but I understand.
Yeah, so I just thought it'd be fun to ask that people out there, what's a game that is their go-to when they always have fun playing? Maybe even one that I am not thinking of, that I would not even look at. Because I tend to look at the same games from the same companies. I'm a huge fan of Fantasy Flight Games. I think that's a given, right? Mm-hmm. In previous episodes and just in the games I like.
Yeah.
So I think what I wanted to do is just let everyone know a few games that I have been having fun playing, and if you out there are listening know of a game that is similar, has the same mechanics, maybe same theme, but it's a totally different game, let me know what that is, and I would love to check it out. So, without further ado...
Drum roll.
So, the three games that come to mind right now are Marvel Champions. Okay. I have fun playing that. Even when I lose. It's frustrating when I lose a lot. Yeah. But we have gotten better at that, right? So, Marvel Champions. And I think a logical transition to Marvel Champions is Arkham Horror, which we have and probably need to look at again. Sure. But if there's something else, it doesn't have to be an LCG. I'm just laying that out there. Marvel Champions. Number 2, I really like Cosmic Encounter Duel. And I have played regular Cosmic Encounter. I'll preface that. But I just love the randomness and the craziness of that game that you have no idea what's coming next.
Okay.
And then finally, I'll say Outer Rim, Star Wars Outer Rim, which we mentioned when we were talking about Corey. I enjoy playing that because it's familiar characters that I know, doing things that I know they would do in that world. Sure. If that makes sense.
So do these 3 games still bring you joy right now?
Yeah, once I get into them, yes, I have fun.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But it's the process of if anything else comes out, I'm just like, well, I don't know if I want to play this. And even like after, I don't know either.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. That's just kind of a weird what's up, but it's the truth.
It's a board game rut.
Yep. I'm just trying to dig myself out of it. So I would love to know some suggestions. So you can talk to us on Instagram at Married and Bored when we post about this episode. That would be amazing.
Yeah, you can either comment on the post or send us a direct message. And maybe even if you don't have a suggestion, just to commiserate and be like, hey, I've been there before.
Yeah. Or just, if you need to, just say, hey, dude, I don't know you, but suck it up and play games, bro. And
you like the tough love. The tough love.
Yeah, it's one way straight to my heart. Not really. But yeah, just what I've been thinking about lately. There's always Kickstarters to look at. I talk about that all the time. Mm-hmm. There's always cool Kickstarters. There's a new Kickstarter option called Game Found, where there's games on that thing. So I'm still interested in the world of board games. It's the process of actually taking the time to play it that is difficult for me personally.
Yeah. And I think that will come across in the episode as we talk about the game we played, which he is playing games. I'm not forcing him, but I'm kind of forcing him.
This one, it took a lot of nudging
Yes.
to get back to playing this one. But I played it, and we can talk about it more right after this.
This episode is sponsored by Showit. Are you stuck in a boring website template? Maybe you don't even know where to start. Experience the true creative freedom with the drag and drop simplicity of a Showit website. Our website, marriedandbored.com, is a Showit website, and we love how simple it is to create. Get started for free at showit.co. You won't be disappointed.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Again, thanks for listening. We are so happy that you continue to listen to our show.
We just want to keep that positive reinforcement in your ears. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So this week, man, we played a doozy of a board game.
Not just week. We've been working on this one.
Probably, well, honestly, for months. Because we got it last fall. We played it a lot when we first got it. And then it sat because I think literally our minds exploded.
Yep.
And
we had to put our minds back together.
And then we had to revisit. So you already know what it is. It's Pax Pamir 2nd edition. It is probably, I'll just start right now by saying, it's probably the most difficult game that we own. Would you agree with that? Or is that just me?
Well, yeah, if it's not the most difficult, it's a close second. You know, about something I just can't think of right now.
Sure. It's up there in the top 3.
Yeah, it's in the top 3.
All right. Well, Angela, why don't you just kick us off and give us a brief description of what Pax Pamir is.
All right, guys. Pax Pamir is going to be set in the world of 19th century Afghan. So players are going to take on the role of Afghan leaders attempting to forge a new state after the collapse of the Durrani Empire. This has been called the Great Game because the European powers, I guess, that were participating in this kind of used Asia as this place to enact all their own rivalries. So you're going to see Russian and British as well as Afghan. And if you play the Wakan, which is an option, you'll see kind of a radical
coalition.
Yeah, like a radical ideology that's going to take root.
Yeah. And just Wakan is the solo variant. It's the AI that you would use if you played solo.
Yes. You can use it as a third player.
Yeah, you can add it to any amount of players.
Yep.
It's just another AI person if you want.
Yep. And so it's a tableau builder. You're going to be building a court or a tableau of leaders in front of you, and they're going to grant you access to actions, and you're going to try to get the most victory points.
Yeah.
And have power. Dominance.
Yeah, that is
what it's called.
That is probably as well as you can explain that game.
Well, thank you, Christian.
There is so much going on in this game, so let's just jump into it again with our favorite category is how easy is it to set up and tear down?
Okay, so this one, I mean, we haven't really had a game with involved setup like this in a while.
Yeah.
Because we've been playing games we can play with our kids, or we've been playing games that are just shuffle a deck and go. This one is, I'd say, if it's not hard, it's medium hard. It's got tokens, it's got a market board, it's got a map board, it's got a player board, it's got dials, it's got a deck that, well, actually multiple decks, but the main deck you're going to have to assemble in a very specific way. So there's a lot going on to set up this game, and it's a little bit deceiving because you would think, or we usually associate this type of involved setup with a game that has a huge box.
That's true. The form factor game is so small. It is like the size of Root, if you're familiar with how big that box is. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, oh man, let's just play this like little political game. And then you open it and it's like, okay, there's still not a lot in here.
Yeah, it doesn't feel overwhelming when you open it.
But then there's just so many little pieces and this specificity, is that how you say that? Of how you have to build the deck each time.
Yeah.
It's just something that it's just like, oh man, I get why you do it, but it's just one extra step that I don't want to take every time I play.
Yeah, and that's something that's not going to get easier the more you do it. Some things, the setup can be cut down remarkably. Like the more you do it, you just get used to it. Mm-hmm. And which I guess any game is like that. But this one, the way you have to put the deck together is very specific to the number of players. And then you have to put certain event cards in a specific way, and then you have to put dominance cards in a specific way.
Yeah.
And then you have to shuffle those separately and stack them on top of each other, but not shuffle the whole deck together.
But then you might be like, well, and you just said that there's 3 different types of cards, and you would say, yeah, that's true, except all the backs are the same. And so you can't like separate them and have different piles for each type of card because they all go in the same deck, and you don't know when they're going to show up, which is part of the game. And again, it's purposeful, but it's just another extra step that you need to take to set it up.
I do like, now we said these aren't necessarily bad things about the game, it's just reality. The reality is it's not an easy game to set up. But I do like how everything fits nicely back in the box. The map board, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, when we talk about how immersive it is, it rolls up. Mm-hmm. So that's really nice. It fits nicely. They have an insert for the tokens that become your armies and your roads. And that you can just literally take the plastic insert out and set it near the board when you're playing. And then just put the plastic insert away when you're tearing it down. Mm-hmm. So that part's really nice. There's a plastic divider that keeps the things that aren't paper and boards apart from everything else that is paper and boards and lays flat, I guess I should say.
Yeah, there is a spot for everything, which helps immensely on both sides of things, tear down and set up. You know where they are, you can see them right away. You just have to find your colors, get the boards, and then you got to go through the card building step, which is probably what takes the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that hasn't stressed you out yet, which we hope, some people are like, okay, no problem. As long as I know I'm getting into that, I can set aside that space in my brain. So then we go to our second category, which, Christian, how accessible is learning to play this game?
I would say it is not a game that you want to introduce non-board game friends to.
They will never come back.
It is not very accessible to learn to play in that there is so many rules. And again, this is a small box, and even the instruction book is not huge. But at the same time, there is a lot going on. A lot of potential every single turn. Trying to remember what you can even do each turn kind of, for me, becomes overbearing.
Almost paralyzing.
Yes, that is a good word, because that has happened to me many times since we played this in the past couple weeks, where I've just looked at you and gone, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that same tone, where it's just like, I guess. I don't know.
I think what gets me, like you said, the rule book it's not the biggest rule book we own. Like if you think of a Fantasy Flight game, for instance, there's a rules reference and a learn to play, and those can seem daunting. This rule book doesn't seem super daunting, but I think maybe what it is the number of exceptions to the rule that can drive someone, just like it can be paralyzing in that sense. Like, okay, you can use these actions on a card, but not if your card's taken hostage. And not, like there's all these different rules, especially if you're going to play the AI. That's a mind trip.
Yeah, that's a crazy experience for sure. It's deceptively simple to start, because it's like, hey, guess what? You get 2 actions every turn.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, I know how to do actions in board games. I've got this. And then it's just like Angela said, okay, so here's your 2 actions. And at the beginning of the game, there's literally only maybe 3 you can do for your 2, right? Like you have 3 options. Right. And then as you start building this tableau, kind of like an Everdell, you have cards in front of you, that starts to unlock more and more actions.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, well, now I only have 2.
Right.
And there's 8 in front of me that I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, well, here would be a good indicator. If you've listened to our podcast for a while, I had to break down and watch a how to play video. I could not, I sat with that book for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think, for the most part, I was getting everything correct. But after watching the video, it was like, oh, and most of the reason why I wanted to watch the video was for the Wakan. And now to give you context, I don't normally watch Learn to Play videos, not because I think they're bad or there's not good ones out there. There are great ones out there.
You just don't learn to play that way.
That's not how I learn to play. So it goes in one ear and out the other too easily when I'm consuming it like a movie. I need to read it.
That makes sense.
But this one, I had to eventually just set the rule book down and be like, I've got to see what is going on here. Because the AI was draining my brain.
Yeah, and that's just the AI. The AI has a lot of hierarchy that you have to work through. It's like, if it's not this, then it's that. If it's not that, then it's this. And then if it's not this again, then it's that. Like, you have to go down this list of things all to maybe discard a card, right?
Yep.
And again, it's purposeful. It does the job. But there's just so much to remember every time that AI comes up. On a player turn, there's not as much. The difficulty in learning to play is what you can do on a turn, what you can't do on a turn. And the hardest part for me is, what should you do on a turn?
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating because we do play a lot of games. And I can't think of a game that just paralyzes me like this one. Mm-hmm. I always know something to do. It's like, well, I guess in this game, I'll just move here so that you can't get rocks. And
or
then
I'll quest, because that's the only thing I can do this
exactly.
turn.
And in this game, I look at my board and I look at the mat and I'm like, well, I have no money, so I can't do half the stuff I have. I have no actions to get money, so now what?
Right.
Yeah, it's hard for me.
It's hard, and I think that if you go to BGG, I think this is where we saw it. They say the sentence, it's a pretty straightforward tableau builder.
Which it is.
It is.
Because you buy cards from a marketplace.
Yes.
Where have we seen that before? We've seen that in
Everywhere.
Wingspan. We've seen that in Everdell. We've seen that even in Fort recently. And we
Clank, like deck builder games.
We understand that. And then in this one, yes, I know how to purchase the cards, but I don't know.
Should I purchase a card?
Yeah, is this the one I want? I don't know.
Yes.
I guess. I mean, I don't have any way to kill anybody, so I'll get the one that says kill. But then I get it, and then I don't have any money to kill. So then I just wasted a whole turn. Blech.
Yes. So there's just, I think maybe the way to sum this up is to just say, you're going to need to drink some caffeine and be prepared to think.
Yeah, or if you're into games like us, this is what I wish we had. I wish we had somebody who was just into this game. Mm-hmm. Like, what games do you play? I was like, oh, hey, my name's Christian. I play games. Oh, my gosh, me too. Well, what kind of games do you like? And they're like, have you played Pax Pamir? And I'd be like, yes, I hate it. And they'd be like, oh, my gosh, I've played it 1,000 times. Then I'd be like, you need to show us what are we missing for this game. And maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves there. But it is a very hard game to play. It's a very hard game to understand, too.
Yeah. Which is, I think, what this category is all about. Was it accessible for us to learn how to play? Even for us, it was a struggle.
Yep.
Not saying that we're the epitome of mental ascent in board games.
We like, medium to lighter games. And even BGG says that this one it's almost a 4 out of 5 in terms of like complexity. And
but we've played harder games that in the complexity rating.
I think so, but
Spirit Island, I'm sure, is higher.
Oh, that's true. But for whatever reason, those ones made sense to us.
Yeah. This
one is just hurting our brain, which is rare for a game to do that to both of us.
Yep.
Like, Mariposas just makes me mad because I lose it a lot, and I feel like I failed, But, like, there's, like, a Star Wars Destiny, you just didn't understand it or unlock it or enjoy it as much. And I was all in and ready to go. And so that's, like, an example of one was, like, Christian knew what to do, when to do it, and, and did it.
Yeah.
And then where you were just like, I don't know, I guess I'll roll my dice and use this guy. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
But this one is double because we both kind of struggle with that.
Yes. Okay. Sorry for that long-winded explanation of how accessible it is to learn to play. But I think as we do the rest of this episode, you'll understand why that's where the majority of our time is. So, how immersive is this experience?
Okay. I would say in terms of the story that you're telling, this is not a narrative story. It's not a narrative board game. It wasn't meant to be. But it does it draws you in. It draws you in with how it looks. Angela said earlier that the board itself rolled up. It's not a neoprene mat. It's not like a mouse pad. It's like a cloth, which is super cool. And it's very specific to the region, I feel like. In Afghanistan, like I feel like they would have that for, placemats and just rolled up carpets, and it reminds me of like Aladdin or something.
Right.
So there's that. We did do the Kickstarter, which was about a year ago now, which is how we got it. And we upgraded to the metal coins, which is my favorite part.
Love the metal coins.
I clink them together when I have them, which is at the very beginning of the game only. And then I somehow
he never gets coins.
Never have coins again. But yeah, the metal coins add so much. Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about like the art or the cards and what else is going on?
Yeah, I think I really do think, even though it's not a narrative, I get what you're saying. It's not like Lord of the Rings Journey in Middle Earth where the story's unfolding as you play. But it is, I do like that they draw you into history. Like, this actually happened in history, and you're going to see the players come up. You're going to see Russian patriots. You're going to see Afghan patriots, and you're going to see text on the cards that describes actual
places, actual, I think, events as well.
Yep.
I think the people on there are historical people. They're real people that did things in that region during that time.
So and the art that brings up the artwork on the cards. It's draws you in. And so I like that. And I think, we don't play a lot of historical games, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head, we've done an episode on Watergate before. Mm-hmm. And I think this one, maybe I'm just more interested in the story that it's telling, or maybe I'm more interested in the artwork that it has. But there's something I think that edges it out over Watergate for me as far as like the immersiveness in history.
Sure.
But I could see how someone could argue the opposite. That's just a personal opinion.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with, logical facts. It's just something I feel. I feel more immersed in this story.
Yeah.
So I think that it's definitely a medium, if not higher.
Okay.
In immersive,
which is rare for us because we love a true story, like a journeys to Middle Earth or Mansions, right? Like we love those types of games. This one is not that, and to still have that result on the immersive scale, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
For us.
Okay. Well, Christian, are you ready for category 4?
I suppose.
Okay,
Hurricanes are coming.
Well, it might be really short for Christian, but category 4, we always talk about, okay, how fun is this game? And what kind of fun is it? So, Christian, is this game fun?
No.
Moving on.
Go ahead.
That's it? That's all you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything I've said up to now, I feel like you maybe could hear what was coming for me. I am not having fun playing this game, and I hate saying that because I look at it and it checks a lot of boxes for me. We'll talk about history later on the show. I've said it a bunch of times. I enjoy history a lot. I read books about history. None of my friends read books about history, so you know what I mean. Like, it's just one of those things that I like. And I don't know anything about this region, so might as well learn something about this region by playing this game. Tableau builders, I can get behind those. I do pretty well in like Targi, and I do pretty well in Everdell. Like, that's easy. Got it. And then I get so paralyzed, to use the word from earlier, that I just don't know what to do when almost ever.
Right. Except maybe the first turn when all you can do is purchase and play or double purchase.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I would not give it an outright no. It's kind of fun for me. And when I say fun, it's more like this intellectual challenge that I want to try to master. I want to figure this out. And we've played it together. We played it last fall twice, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more than that, but...
And then we brought it out again in the last 2 weeks, and we've played a few more times together, and then I played a few more times by myself with the AI.
Against, the Wakan cards.
Yep. And so as I play it more, I feel like I'm kind of starting to get the swing of things. Like, I'm getting some momentum. Do I feel like completely in a sweet spot? No. Am I having like a great time? Not really, because it's very hard to remember everything. This AI needs an app.
Yeah.
It just does.
That would be very, very cool. And, we'll preface this by saying I've never checked if there even is one. I'm sure somebody made one. You know what I mean? We didn't look into it at all.
Yeah.
We were just playing it out of the box. What's the experience?
Yeah. And, well, I've never met an AI I can't handle in terms of playing, not beating it, but like...
Understanding what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the time I've done this AI's turn, I have completely forgotten what I was trying to do, because I've had to concentrate so hard on what they're supposed to do, which kind of zaps the fun out of things. But I don't feel as paralyzed as you do anymore.
That's good.
Because I've played it a few more times. I wouldn't say I'm in like a rhythm, but I would say I've maybe gotten beyond the no, it's not fun, into a sort of gray area of, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, I even haven't lost this game terribly either.
No, it's not that.
I've come in second to the AI person many times. Mm-hmm. So it's not like a losing thing. Like somehow I score points, and I don't understand why.
Well, and maybe we should mention this here. Like, another thing that really bothered you the other night was the what the score is.
Oh man, yes, that's a good. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot. It is so. We are newer to this game. We've played it a dozen times. Let's say, right? And each time we play, it's probably a 2-hour experience. Would you say? At least like 90 minutes.
When I'm playing solo, I can probably do an hour.
Yeah.
But when it's both of us, no way.
Yeah. And so that's a good chunk of time to be playing a board game. So we played a game the other night, and at the end of the game, I think we might even quit early because it was just late. And I looked down at the board. I was like, hey, I'm in second place. This is great. 2 points. After 90 minutes, I had 2 points.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a lot of points to be scored in this game. That's the game it is. But at the same time, it's like soccer. Soccer is a 90-minute. I think it's 90 minute. Maybe it's more. Like, there's just not a lot of points scored in soccer. And so for the time that a soccer match is, if you compare it to, like, basketball, like, basketball is like they score every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Somebody is scoring. I'm not saying this needs to be Pax Pamir Basketball Edition. But I would just think that you spend more time doing, and you do so much things, it's like, give me more points.
Yeah.
Give me some sort of reward for the time spent.
I get that. It is it's definitely somewhat frustrating to realize at the end of the game that you had 2 points, even if that means you weren't last.
Or if you somehow won with 2 points.
I mean, no, you
couldn't. That's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that would be possible, but it's just like, it's like there needs to be a sweet spot between like the constant like short attention span that maybe like a basketball person is expecting, like constant entertainment, like scoring every 20 seconds, every 30 seconds, versus like ending the game in a 0-0 tie in soccer. Like, we need something in the middle there.
Yeah.
To keep us interested and keep the points going. I felt like that a little bit with Root at first, but I will say about Root, like, the victory points can be hard, depending on which faction you are, can be hard to score at first, but then eventually you do get into a rhythm, hopefully, if you're playing well. And
not if you're the birds.
And things go in your favor, where the things that you've set up will start accumulating.
Yeah, it starts to waterfall pretty quickly.
Yeah, because I remember feeling at first when we played Root, like, we got to get to 30 victory points before this game ends.
How come this dumb mechanical cat has 29 and Angela and I have 7?
Yeah. So, but this one's way different. It never, or I guess, again, we've only played it about a dozen times. But for us, it has never felt like, okay, now it's rolling through the victory points. Now we're rolling.
Yeah. And I know, like, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to do this, this, and this, because eventually this will get me 5 points. And it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'll build an army because I have the action.
Yes.
And maybe it's an understanding thing of the strategy, too. That I have not unlocked that at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, the 5th category is usually a pretty short one for us. But this one might be more involved. We talk about, is it worth it? Like, the cost we paid for it versus how replayable is it? And does it have a place on our shelf? Is it worth it for us? And I don't think that I have, maybe you do, but I don't think I have a clear answer on this one. So I'm just going to give my thoughts and not give a yes or no. But do you have a yes or no?
I don't think it's a yes.
A yes?
I don't think it's a yes or no. I don't think, for me, this category is ever a yes or no. It's just more of like, have you enjoyed it? I haven't, but I'm not willing to be like, I'm done. I feel like with the only other game that I felt this with is Fort, and it's not the same game. And I'm just like, there is something here. I don't know what it is. In my brain or whatever, I cannot figure it out. I'm not willing to like only do this until I figure it out.
Yeah.
I just wish it were easier for me to do that. So I don't have a yes or no answer for this one either.
Yeah.
Geez.
Well, when you're considering it for yourself, I don't know if these questions will help you. I would think about, for us, is taking the time to play this, which it's over an hour, and requiring so much mental effort. Like, how often are we actually going to play this?
I think
how often is it going to get off our shelf?
once or twice a year.
Okay.
In reality, at this rate. Mm-hmm. Yes, once or twice a year.
And do you, or do we would consider, do we have friends that would play this with us and make it a different experience than just a 2-player game?
As of right now, no.
Right.
All of our friends are pretty light gamers.
Yeah. And then with all the rules, what I'm concerned about is, would this be like relearning the entire game if we just didn't play it for a while?
Yeah, I think you would have to.
Yeah, and
we did,
Right.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But then
Kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like PTO.
But then again, I'm not willing to get rid of it either, because I feel like it is a great game.
Yeah.
Like mechanically, I feel that there's a lot to dig into and discover.
Yes.
I don't think it's, like sometimes you play a game and you're like, well, that's not a good game, and I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but it just, like, the mechanic is funky
villainous.
Oh, there you go.
Your least favorite as of late.
There you go. So this one is not that. It's not like I feel like it's a poorly developed or made game.
No, it's the same guy who did Root. Like he's got his pedigree of games is like top notch.
Top notch.
Which is why we wanted this game to begin with. We knew this was going to be a good game, and for whatever reason, it is falling way short on that scale for us.
So I'm not going to say that we need to get rid of it. It's definitely not that for me. But I don't know how often we'll play it. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the good things, so replayability is always talked about in this category as well. It's a different game every time. Because every time you don't use the same cards. There's always a chunk of cards that are just left out. Mm-hmm. Because of the specific deck building that you have to do to start the game. So you don't know what you're going to get. We played one game a few nights ago. I'll just call them purple cards. Purple cards are very popular and very sought after because they give you, quote, rule in a region. If you don't have those, you don't rule that region. So this game had very few purple cards. Maybe 6 in the whole time we played. And we were, again, paralyzed in what we could actually do to score points. It was so
frustrating,
different from the other playthroughs that we had. And then the next time we played, purple all day, like everywhere.
Yeah. And there's events that happen during this. So the events are going to get thrown in, which could change the game. So It's definitely replayable. It's going to be different every single time.
Yes.
So that part's great. And I hope that the next time we open it, or maybe someone that's listening and interacts with us on here or on our Instagram can give us some tips. Because like Christian said, we don't want to not like this game. We want to like it. Especially me, like, I feel like there's a lot of strategy to be found here. And there's something about the mental stamina that it takes to get through this game, and the challenge and the feeling of pride when I play it, like it's just not paying off, or something. So I need some sort of tip or trick. But yeah, I don't think that. I hope we play it a lot. Maybe it's just something about the rut you're in.
It could be. But again, like I remember feeling this way when we first opened it, and that was 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Or not that far, but you get the idea. Like, I was just as confused then as I am now. So why don't we just end our chat with Pax Pamir by asking for help again in this episode.
We need a lot of help.
You had mentioned, Angela, like, we would love to know if you love this game. Thanks for listening, obviously. Like, we kind of tore it up. Those are just our current feelings. Like, we know there's a good game there. We cannot find it. So, what are we missing? Do we need to play with more than 2 people? Do we need to watch a specific video? Or do we need to read the rules again? Like, what is it that we're missing that you like about that game?
Yeah, and that the nice part about interacting with us is that not only because we're awesome and nice, but we want to be convinced. Like, we're not wanting to hang on to this feeling that we feel right now. We want to be convinced that this is the game you love is a game we can love.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, as we sat down to talk about this game tonight, like, I don't like talking about things I don't like, and right now, like, this is one of those things where it's like, seriously, like, Pax, I don't know. It doesn't get me excited about board games, and it's like, there's something here again. What is it? Let us know, please. hello@marriedandbored.com or Instagram @marriedandbored. We would love, love, love to know what that is.
Yes. Well, the thing that we alluded to in the last section that kind of came to the surface when we played this game was the idea of history in games, and when games revolve around actual things that happened in history. And what do you think? I mean, I think I know what you're going to say, history buff Christian.
Love it.
I love it more than I thought too. I think that I've been getting more into history recently, and I like when a game can take something that actually happened and bring you into that world. And that's kind of like the equivalent of having a book or a movie with the game.
Yeah.
You know, like Lord of the Rings. You're like, oh.
Which for some is history.
Okay. About what year was Lord of the Rings?
14. I don't know.
Oh, no. Or Star Wars. You're like, oh, I can picture those characters doing this. Well, did I know anything really about the great game where all these
European influences were
in the
messing up Afghanistan?
In the Afghan theater? No, I didn't. So, I mean, if I did, it was a vague a notion of what happened there. And so I'm actually learning more about it, and it's not a struggle to learn the history because I feel like the outcome is I get to play a game. So that's what's fun for me. I really like the history part of it.
Yeah, I think it's been, excuse me, it's been really fun to learn, or it is just fun to learn while you're playing a game. I think that helps so much. Like, especially for me, if it's based on actual events like Watergate, yes, like, check that box. Let's play that game. My favorite part about Watergate is, like, the conspiracy theory board that you get to create.
Yeah.
Trying to connect the dots to Nixon and all the informants and whatever. That's great because I can picture somebody with just thick black glasses from 1960 in a white shirt with a tie connecting all these dots. Like, you can picture that. And when it's actual real people that you've heard of, even better. Like, so much fun. And even like Undaunted Normandy, now the people you're playing aren't real, but I believe, I could be wrong, the battles that you're recreating are very real. Like, they were based on battles from World War II in Normandy or North Africa.
Yeah.
So that is a game that I need to play more. I need to play all games more, like I said earlier, but that it helps that it's based in history, and again, even better if it's based on actual events.
Yeah, and we've actually, it's been a while now, but we've considered off and on again buying Black Orchestra, which is World War II.
Oh yeah, that's like a hunt down Hitler.
One
maybe?
side plays
Yeah.
Hitler, and one side maybe plays the Allied forces, or just American forces.
I think it's like a spy game. Like, I just don't know. But again, it's a history thing, so we're like, oh yeah, this checks Christian's boxes at least.
Yeah.
Now maybe a little bit more yours. One game that we have that is based in history, which is really cool, which we don't play, is Western Legends. It's actually based on real cowboys, real Native Americans around that time, and you get to do cowboy stuff.
Right.
That's something that we should probably revisit when we have more people over and play that, so that we can experience. I think it's a good, cowboy, sandbox game. You can do whatever you want. You can rob banks, rustle cattle, play poker even.
You can be a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I think you get the vibe, the cowboy vibe of playing that game. And you can be outlaw or a marshal. Like, there's so many cool things about that.
Yeah. So I think what we're trying to say is people who design games, make games, we love when history is involved. It can only really, in our opinion, add to the immersive experience of a game. And I think it's a great place to start. Like, if I were to picture designing a game or coming up with a game, that would be a really cool place to start. It's something that actually happened in history, and to work through that. And then maybe facts get distorted as you go, but that would be a cool place to start the design of a game or the concept of a game.
I'm going to throw a question at you, and it's a very difficult question. Is there an event in history or a time period or something along those lines that you'd love to see a game based in? I thought of one that maybe I have seen a game based in this, but it'd be really cool to do like Prohibition, and you either somebody is like running rum, like hiding,
Moonshine?
yeah, like hiding booze, and then somebody's a cop trying to find them. That could be a hidden movement game, which there are so many of those. But that would be kind of fun. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. I don't know. There's so many. Like, I feel like I could go and I could like a Viking game.
Yeah.
I feel like I could like a Woodstock game. Like, I feel like I'm not trapped in one era that seems particularly interesting to
Yeah.
me. It would just be how well the game is designed around that time in history.
Yeah, definitely.
And like Watergate is a very specific event. And then this game, Pax Pamir, is more like a time frame. It's not the event of Watergate that happened.
Exactly.
And then furthermore, a game could be like a whole era. It could be very vague time in history.
There's a lot of like political style games you could do in like Victorian England or like stuff like that. There's a lot of kings and queens in history, so
Oh yeah, totally.
there's a lot you could do there.
Well, let us know if you have a favorite game that has some historical elements in it as well.
And
We'd love to
again,
hear.
if there's one we're missing, help us out.
Let us know.
Call for help number 3. Yeah, hit us up with your favorite game set in history. All right, thanks again, everybody. As we wrap up this episode, we just like to just have a quick little chat about what we are doing outside of games, what brings us joy, what we're up to besides doing this show. I'm just going to kick it off here and just say I have been looking at a one wheel. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. Just Google search one wheel. It's like a skateboard or a snowboard with a giant wheel in the middle, and it like balances itself. It is so cool.
He wants you to watch the video. Go watch the video.
Here's the thing. I want one really bad because one of my New Year's resolutions is to look cool. And I don't
Just
think
in general.
I don't think you can get cooler than riding a one wheel. I will get a helmet, of course, special ordered size 1000X or whatever it needs to be for my giant head. But yeah, I just really want one. I will say I've never snowboarded. I enjoy skiing more, and I was terrible at skateboarding. So I was like, if I do end up getting one, I might die, but at least I will. At least I will look cool doing it. Do you guys have a one wheel? Oh man, they look so much fun. I don't know what it is. I'm not really like an adventurer. Like, let's do this crazy sport and ride this weird thing. But I just.
You mean you don't have a unicycle in the garage?
No, I don't even have rollerblades. You know,
what's the adventure hierarchy? Is it like rollerblades, then unicycle, then one wheel?
Yeah, or like a Segway unicycle.
Ooh, a Segway.
Yeah, have you seen those where they like put them between their, like they kind of lock them between their knees? Or a hoverboard. That's probably a good one. But yeah, one wheel. Check it out. I just really want one.
Well, that will cut into your game time. Or maybe you'll fall, break something, and then you'll have to sit and play games.
Yeah, and you'll have to move pieces for me because my bones will be shattered.
No, don't say it. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, what's bringing me joy outside of games? Thanks for asking, Christian.
It was a natural transition to you. There's no one else here.
The weather here in Arizona in the winter is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So cold. It's 65.
Yeah, our afternoons are 75 degrees sometimes. So I've been enjoying the outdoor things. Like our daughter is on a little soccer team. And then
scored a goal Saturday.
Woo-hoo! And I've been enjoying, we did a little hike with friends today.
Yeah, that was great.
So just being out and enjoying the nice weather, because in Arizona we know that 120 is right around the corner.
Yep, it's like the opposite of everywhere else in the United States.
They hope for summer and we're like, no summer.
We get 3 months of really great weather and it's in the winter. Everywhere else gets 3 months of really great weather in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Well, that's what I am enjoying right now. It's bringing me joy.
Well, there you have it, guys. Thanks again for sticking with us throughout this episode. If you want to respond to any of the questions we asked during this show, please reach out and hit us up on Instagram @marriedandbored. Email. Angela, what is the email address?
hello@marriedandbored.com, and feel free to leave us a review on iTunes.
Yeah, please do that. We don't really ask for that much, but if you do, more people will find us, which is always great.
Yes.
That we get more people listening, more people interacting on social media and through our website, which is at marriedandbored.com. We hope everyone's staying safe. Have a great week. Anything else, Ange?
We'll see you next time.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Married and Bored podcast. And guess what? We have a website where you can listen to podcast episodes and so much more. Find us at marriedandbored.com, or you can email us at hello@marriedandbored.com, or follow us on Instagram @marriedandbored. Music in this episode is by Joseph McDade. See you next time.
Yeah, and speaking of Joy, you have a really good friend named Joy, right?
No. That was such a bad lead-in.